What's going on, guys? Well, today is my day off. And what do I like to do on my day off? Well, surely not make videos, but I'm here to make one today because I've had a couple of friends ask me about streaming and what it would take for them to start streaming on Twitch. Now, obviously, streaming on Twitch, streaming on YouTube is kind of the same thing with the exception of some of the settings on the streaming software are going to be a little bit different because one can handle a higher bit rate, which right now means absolutely nothing to you, but it will mean something later when I explain it. So I figured while my microphones keep slipping down, I'm going to go try to give you a quick overview and not an entire walkthrough of how to set everything up because that will take forever. But I'm going to give you a quick overview of what it takes for you to actually start streaming. What equipment do you need, what software, and so forth, and just give you some tips. So that way you understand a little bit more of what you're getting into. So first things first, obviously, if you want to Twitch, you can do that too. If you're going to stream on YouTube or Twitch, you make up your mind which one you want, and you can do both. If you do multi-streaming, I wouldn't suggest you start that way if you're not familiar with streaming yet. So I would say pick a platform and go from there. Most people start off with Twitch. It seems to be the easiest thing to do, to each their own. So this is what you have to do. Obviously, create a Twitch account. So you go to twitch.tv and you create an account. So now you have a username. And they're like, okay, I'm done. No, you're not done. So let's first talk about the equipment. After you set up a Twitch account, there are certain things that you're going to need if you plan on streaming. Streaming involves having a camera, having a microphone, and obviously having some set of speakers or headphones. Headphones are probably better because you can hear everything instead of people hearing your speakers come through your mic if you don't set up your mic properly. So I would suggest some headphones. If you don't want to get yourself a big mic, then make sure you have a headphones that have an actual mic attached to them. Some of the ones that I prefer is the Seal series. Now I'll show you a couple of those in a moment. So let's look at the first most important thing. So we're going to go over equipment, what you're going to basically need to start off with. So let's see if by the way, I'm going to do this and not edit this. So you're going to get what you get here. Let's see. So let's go over to, dual screen. So obviously I am using software for streaming and for recording. So here I am here. I'm going to show you both of my screens here that are in front of me. And we're going to start off with equipment. So what's the first thing you need? Probably a camera. If you don't already have one, you can basically go on Amazon or anywhere you feel comfortable buying, and you can look up anything that says webcam. Some of the ones that I suggest to start off with maybe is the Brio Logitech. That's not a bad webcam. It's actually, there's a 4K one, and they're not that expensive. I mean, you can probably get a really cheap one. If you look through, you look for Logitech, because there's some other brands. So you're looking at about $169. You could probably find one for $140. Here's one for $134. Here's a Brio 4K webcam. So it's not, this is not the latest and greatest, but it's a camera that I have a few of them here somewhere. And I've used them. They have good lighting and so forth. There are other cams, and we'll talk about another brand in a moment. But Logitech is pretty simple, pretty straightforward to use. You got a couple of different ones, but I would try out the Brio. So start off with that. If you want to get really fancy, then you do something like the, let's see if I can get this going here. You go with the Insta360, let's say. This is the camera that I'm using now, which is the one that you're seeing. This controls movement as well. Let's see if I can find the Insta360. This is it right here. So if you look at this camera, this one actually has a movement that actually will follow you. I don't have that on right now. I turned that off, but it works through a number of gestures. So it has gesture controls. It can zoom in, it can zoom out. If you stand up, it can follow you because it's looking for your head or your eyes. So it's pretty cool. This is a little bit more expensive. It comes down to almost $200, but it's a great buy if you're looking to just buy something that's going to work out for you. You can use this for a lot of different things. So I would suggest, this is the one I use. I would suggest this one, but if you're really strapped for cash and you really just want a camera that doesn't have to follow you around, try something like a Logitech. You'll be all right with that. There's one other example I'm going to give you, but I'm going to hold off to the end. So let's move forward to like what else you would need. You don't use the microphone on the camera. That one you disable immediately. What you want is a regular mic. So I started off with a Blue Yeti when I first started streaming, and they're great microphones. They're about $100. You might be able to find one for a little bit cheaper. Here is a silver one for $84. And they're really good. They have good bass, they have good control, but they are USB mics. They're not XLRs. If you know what XLR means, it's basically like a 3-prong cable, usually used for musical, I think amps and things like that, but it's also used for recording. That's the kind of like the mic that I'm using now, which is the Shure, which I'll show you this one in a moment. But now we're talking a lot more money. So about $84 to about somewhere around $100, you can get yourself a Blue Yeti. They are pretty good. I still have one. I think I gave one to someone else, and they work really well. The only thing is that they're very heavy, and they do stand on a. They have a base, as you can tell, like from here. This is a base that it comes with, which is great. It sits on your table. If you tap your table or you hit your table a lot, unfortunately, the mic does pick that up because it picks up the vibration from the stand that it's holding the microphone on. So you would have to take that off of there, and you would need to get yourself a boom stand, like a boom mic stand, which is similar to the one I have here. Now, the problem with these smaller, I have two kinds. The problems with these boom mic stands is that they don't hold a lot of weight, especially when the stand is on the floor and it has an arm that sticks out to 90-degree angle. And if the microphone is too heavy, it starts to slip down no matter how much I tighten this. So I find myself doing some things with the cable to hold it in place. That's not good. There's another stand that I can't use right now because it clamps to your table. And unfortunately, I have a type of furniture table here as my desk that I can't clamp anything to. So I can't use it. It really sucks unless I drill some holes into my actual desk, which $10,000 desk, I'm kind of thinking I don't want to do that right now, but I am considering it. But those arms are a lot better, and I think I have them. Let me show you that one. That would be something like this. So these are a lot stronger. As you can tell, they're a lot thicker than just a regular boom mic, and they have clamps that they can just hold in place, and it would sit on your desk in this fashion, and then obviously you would pull it down and put it where you need to, and it really does stay in place. They're very strong. This also is probably about $129, anywhere up to $200, depending on which one you get. This particular one is from Frameworks. It's called the Gator Frameworks. It's a pretty good one. But again, I can't clamp it onto my desk, so I can't use it right now. So I'm stuck with using this one for now. But if you can, the reason I'm telling you that is if you want to avoid getting the vibration from hitting your desk that comes through your mic, you have to get your mic off of your desk. That's just how it is. Okay, so that's the microphone. Now, before I move on to anything else, because we're talking equipment, I'm going to show you Elgato. This is on Amazon. Now, Elgato has a website, obviously elgato.com or something along that lines. And when you go there, there's all sorts of different streaming equipment that they use. Don't get tied up into, I need to buy all of this. No. But I am still going to tell you about this so you know. Like, first we're going to go down. They obviously do make cameras. They make cameras called face cams, which are comparable anywhere from $150 to $200. They're good cameras. They have good lighting. So, if you want to stick to one company that has everything, this is the company that does it. It does not have the camera following you like the Instacam that I told you about. The other thing they have is key lights. So they have lighting. I have one on right now that will light up, and it works great. It doesn't have to be a big giant ring light like I had before. But if you want a ring light, I'll look up one in a moment so you can see that. So they also have things like, here's another face cam. This is an older one. They also have microphones if you want to try one of their microphones. I've never used one. I know people that have. They like them. They're fine with them. The other thing is, for example, now this is where you get far beyond what you need when you start off with, unless it's something you're going to do. So there is a capture card or a capture device. I do have one sitting on my table, and basically what that does is it captures the feed from my PlayStation to allow me to stream it on my computer, because obviously the PlayStation is not connected to the computer. So in order for me to see it, I need something that captures the video from my PlayStation and brings it into my computer so I can throw it through the stream, and then you guys can see it. That's what these capture cards are for. Look up capture card and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But Elgato does make this. This is where I started off with this company. They have something else called a Cam Link, which is right up here. A Cam Link 4K is also used for if you don't want to use a regular webcam and you have something like a DSLR camera, which I have behind me, which is additional SLR, Canon, Nikon, Sony, whatever it is. I have a Sony a6000 and a Nikon. And I can connect those by using a USB Cam Link 4K capture card, because that's basically the capturing of the video coming from the camera so that I can use it as a camera. Now, I used to use about 3 of those when I first started streaming because I had different angles. And I'd say this past year, I think I switched from using my DSLRs completely to just using this Instacam, Insta360 camera that I really love. So its quality is amazing. So anyhow, but that's there if in case you want it. This is really where I started using for the Elgato company for the cam links as well as for the capture cards. The other thing that they have that you might have heard of is something called a Stream Deck. Now, I'm not bringing this up big on the screen because really we'll be here forever. But the Stream Deck is basically a way of setting up macros, buttons that do things. So if you're running a stream and you want to have certain things happen, switch scenes, maybe switch to bring down your camera, bring down the sound, whatever it is, anything you want to basically set up as a macro, a quick button press, bring up a website, whatever, you can set it up on the Stream Deck. So Stream Deck is a way to have buttons at your fingers that control things that you set up. Whether it's opening up a program or making something happen on your stream, it's there. And by the way, there are tons of YouTube on how to learn how to use those things and set them up. So they're great. If you know about macros, that's what they're for. I have about 2 of these. I have a large one and I have a smaller one, and I use them on both machines. I even use them for long entries of things that I have to enter in, and I don't feel like typing it all the time. I just press one button and it types it and enters it for me. So there's that. Now, there are tons of other products from Elgato, which I'm not going to get into, but feel free to go to their website and look at. There is one other thing that I'm going to show you that, again, is a little bit more advanced. You might not need this, but if you've ever seen a streamer where they're just them and they're in the game, like there's no background, you're not seeing their room, that's what's called a green screen. So, for example, Elgato has a green screen, and I have these as well. I have 2 of these. I'm going to click on these so you can see this up close. What a green screen does is it basically is what it is, a green screen. There's a way of setting up your OBS software that allows you to put in a specific color, in this case like green, as a background, and it will make it invisible. Therefore, if you are playing a game and you have yourself in the game, like if I was part of this big giant screen and I didn't want you to see anything else behind me, just me and my chair, I would have a green screen behind me, and then all you'll see is the actual game as my background and me just sitting comfortably in my chair as part of that background. So that's pretty cool. So that's how you would do that. And this is costing $169 for one of these. I have 2 of these. I've never used them. I used them very minimally when I first started. It's just, I really don't care. I like having my little background to make it more realistic. Like here I am, I'm in my room, and it's just my preference. But if you're into that and that's what you want, then that's what you do. I'm trying to think. There is another way of doing it. If you can go to get some fabric that's this kind of green color, you can just drape some fabric behind you and cover everything else up, and it'll be the same actual result. The only thing when dealing with green screens is you have to make sure that there's proper lighting on the green screen. Otherwise, you'll have some shadows or some fading issues or things like that, or it just won't work properly. So your lighting has to be key. Speaking of lighting, so we talked about the Elgato lighting systems. Those are, by the way, I'm searching all of this on Amazon just because I use Amazon for everything. So Elgato lighting, if I look at Elgato lighting, they have a couple of different examples. Here's a great looking setup here, just so you can see this and understand what this looks like. So there's the lights right there. I have 2 of these. I only use one. I have one on the other side. And as you can tell, this person has 2 of them. There's their software, whatever. They use this probably for a Zoom call. And that's basically what it is. It's just 2 lights. This is a 2-pack. So they're selling 2 for $7. But this one is not from Elgato, by the way. So just be sure you're reading who makes them. The reason why I'm mentioning the Elgato ones is because if you get a Stream Deck, which is an Elgato product for setting up macros, you can control your lights from those same buttons. So you don't need multiple things to turn them on and turn them off. So that's one sense. Like an Elgato one is $179. It's a little bit more. They do have other alternatives, like I said, that cost you less. Like, for example, the UBiz size 10-inch key lights, different company, same idea, $39. So really, whatever your budget is, you're going to find a light. In the old days, when people first started streaming, they would get a ring light. And this is what a ring light looks like. This is a ring light here. They're very cheap. You can find them for very cheap. Small ones, large ones for your phone, or you can get a very large one that sits in front of you. They're easy to use. These cost anywhere from $32, like this one here, which is a very small one that sits on your desk, to just about $150 or something like that, depending on which one you get. If you want a large ring light, let's see if they even sell them still. They probably don't sell them anymore. Oh, is this a, no, this one might be one. It's hard to find the large ones because a lot of people are using the ones on their desk. This is probably one of them. Yeah, this is the one. I think I have this one. It's called an NEEWER newer ring light. I believe this is similar to the one I have. It comes in a box, and it's a big giant light. It's about this big, and there's, you can fit your head through it, and you can put your camera right in the middle of it, just like they did here, and it works out great. 18-inch large diameter. Yeah, that's what it is. So you can go this route too, and this is about $100. But again, lighting is important, especially if you're in a very dark room. If you're in a well-lit room and you're streaming during the daytime and you have great lighting coming in, then I guess you don't need lighting, as long as your face isn't shadowed. So that's cool. So enough about lighting, enough about all that equipment. But that's basically what you need. A camera, a microphone, and headphones and lighting. I said lighting. Everything else is kind of extra. So headphones. Let me show you the ones that I use, and it's up to you to what you want to use. Steel Series. Okay, so I go with wireless ones because that's just what I've been using. The Steel Series is a great product. The Arctic Nova 5's wireless multi-system gaming headset. That's kind of the ones that I would recommend to people because they come with its own microphone that's kind of built in. You can use them wirelessly. They have a little, like a USB plug-in. There's also these are $110, by the way. There's also another one that's about $300, but it comes with its own little unit, and I'll show you the unit here. This is kind of a receiver. Let me see if I can bring this up. This right here that I'm showing you, it's the receiver, and it connects to the computer, and then it also connects to my headset and my Go XLR. So it's a little different. It charges a battery, so I have a backup battery while I'm using one. So that one is let's see if I can find that one. That is this one here. It's $349, a little more expensive. But again, if you're just looking to get yourself a headset, even a wired one would be fine as long as it has a microphone. But the Steel Series has really good sound and really good microphone performance, so I would recommend these. So anywhere from $100 to $349, depending on which one you want to get. But that's kind of the idea behind these. All right. So those are microphones, headsets. I would suggest wireless only because the wire is going to get in your way. I used to use wired ones. Trust me, it was a pain in the butt. So that's that. So I said microphone, camera, headphones, and some type of lighting. Those are the basic hardcore equipment needs that you should have. There is one other thing that I will show you. I'm trying to see if I can, and why am I getting calls right now? I'm trying to see if I have it up here already. So we're looking at this. It's not, yes, I was going to show it to you. So this is when you're going to go a little bit farther ahead. And before I show you that, I'll show you why I had to get this. This is the next level mic up. If you want a really good performance mic, there's tons of them out there. Obviously, there's different brands. This is the one I went with. This seemed to be the streamer microphone, the Shure SM7B. It's this mic that I'm using here in front of me. It's great. It's an XLR mic, so it's not USB. And the reason I got it was because I got something called a Go XLR, which is an audio kind of channel changing, so I can separate my game sound, my chat sounds, my music sound. I can separate them my different channels so that when I stream, I can lower some, I can raise some. And I needed something like that because of the fact that I was playing a game. Sometimes I was watching YouTube, if I was running music, or I had somebody on Discord chatting. I didn't want them all to be the same exact volume. And instead of setting them up each individually in the software, I can run them through this other device. But by the way, this microphone here can be anywhere from $400 to $500, depending on which one you get. And it is GoXLR. It is an XLR connection, not a USB. So what does that mean? So here, if I can just get this, GoXLR. There's lots of other brands and equipment that do exactly the same thing. I don't know if the GoXLRs are being updated anymore, and I don't even know if you can still find one. If you can, that is great. And I am not seeing one right now because the updates are no longer being done. They're probably not selling them anymore. And I wish I can show it to you because it's sitting on my desk right here, and I really have no way of showing it to you right now. But it's basically this type of connection. I'm going to just grab a random one. And in fact, it's like an audio mixer is what it is. I'm trying to see if maybe I can find the Rode one. Give me 1 second. I really didn't want to edit this, so hopefully I don't have to. Here it is. So this is the one that some people said that would be the replacement of the GoXLR. And it's basically just an audio mixer. So it has different channels. It has some settings. It has some presets that you can set up. It changes the volumes, things like that. So you can monitor all your different channels. The other thing, if I'm not mistaken, is these are XLR connections. I'm just double checking. It doesn't show. Why doesn't it show? Yeah, it should show the back. Why doesn't it show the back of it? Yeah, it does not. But they may not be. You'd have to look at that. But again, this is something that you don't need right now. This is something that if you really get into it and you want to get yourself an audio mixer, then you'll look into that. If you're curious about it, just do a search on YouTube for audio mixers for streaming, and you'll see one for either the GoXLR or the Rodecaster. There's always somebody showing them off. People like to share ideas. Okay, so that's equipment. Let's move on. So by now you're asking yourself, and by the way, you're wondering, why do I have a second screen open here that I'm not showing anything? We'll get to that. You'll see something there in a moment. So by now you're wondering, okay, great, I have the equipment. I need software. How do I broadcast all this? Well, that's where OBS comes in. Now, I'm gonna give you this explanation only because some people get confused on this. Whenever someone says OBS, they think Streamlabs, because Streamlabs OBS is another company. That's this company here. They both do the same thing, but they're two different sets of software. I'm going to explain OBS first. That's the one I'm going to show you quickly. But OBS is basically the original one before Streamlabs. Streamlabs actually took their name and created it to the point that people would be confused when someone said, make sure you get OBS Studio, and they'd be like, oh, Streamlabs OBS? Yeah, I have it. No, different products. And that's kind of the way Streamlabs has worked. They've kind of used a lot of ideas that other companies have made for streaming, and they've, in a sense, I don't want to say copied, but they come out with very similar products, and people tend to be confused on which one's which, are they the same, and so forth. OBS Studios and Streamlabs OBS are two different softwares that both are used for streaming. So I'm going to talk to you about OBS. OBS broadcast software is free. Both of these are free downloads. You can install them, set them up, and you're fine. For Streamlabs, which is this one, there is a paid version that allows you to do things like multicast, and it gives you access to a bunch of different overlays that are already done for you, so you don't have to do them yourself. And so, yes, there is a pay factor that you can do there, a monthly or annual contract, which you can do if that's what you want to do. I am fine using OBS Studios. I have used both of them. I have had a paid one before too, and it just don't seem that impressive. Okay. Now, the difference also between OBS and Streamlabs, which I'll put it over here, by the way, for now, is the biggest difference is that OBS is very, how can I say, manual. You have to set up your settings yourself. You're basically setting everything up. Yes, you are doing that in Streamlabs, but there's a lot of, there's things that are easily done. It's like, just pick this, do this drop down, whatever. But that doesn't mean that it's better. It's just easier to put together, but it's just a different. I'm more techie. I like dealing with things that I can manipulate the way I want them to, which is why I go with OBS. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. The second thing to OBS that you need to learn that you should use is something called Stream Elements. Stream Elements is a separate software that works with OBS so that you can set up all your overlays, all your bots like your chat bots and things like that, your command timer, so it tells you put certain information out. All of that happens through Stream Elements, and it's tied in. It can be tied into OBS. Talk to you more about that later because that is really another big can of worms to get into. But I want to mention it because those two together work really well, and there's one main reason why I would use them together, and it's to save on your bandwidth, which is what we're going to talk about in a moment. Because if you don't have the proper bandwidth, in other words, a good internet high-speed connection, you really should not be streaming. That's the truth. So I'm going to explain that in a moment. So OBS is this. Let's go ahead and I'm going to close out Streamlabs because we're not going to use it. I'm using another computer on this end here so that I can show you what the OBS looks like. This is OBS for Windows. I can just show you right now that I am not setting anything up. There's scenes, there's sources, and this is how it runs. So for example, let's say in the first scene, if I'm going to make a scene, you know what a scene is? A scene means like right now you're in the scene for a dual screen showing and me in the bottom. This, what you're looking at, is a scene. If I were to move to, let's say, my camera overlay, this is another scene. If I wanted to see a desktop overlay, here's another scene. And a full desktop, another scene there, and then back to my dual screen. These are called scenes. Inside of the scenes are sources. Now, this is what you set up as far as what is going to be shown on your scene. And that's as easy as adding, let's say, what am I going to add here? I'll do a display capture. I'm going to do test, and I'm going to say okay. And what is it going to select? I don't have anything other than my actual screen that I'm showing. So as you notice here, I'm showing this screen on this. This is another computer. So therefore, now I can show you everything that's on my screen. If, for example, I was running, let's say I'm running the internet right here, right? I'm running a Chrome browser. I'm just going to make it really small right here. And let's say instead of this, I wanted to show that browser and only that browser. So I'm going to go ahead and add another thing called Windows Capture. And here I'm going to write, I'm going to write Chrome because that's what it is. I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to select my Chrome. There it is there. And so then here's where Chrome is. Now, I want you to notice something. Chrome is on my screen here. This is what's showing. So no matter what I do behind the scenes, so let me bring up Chrome. Here it is right here, right? There it is. If I make this bigger, this is the screen. If I make this bigger, it's going to make it bigger on the screen that you would be seeing. But here's what's great. I can bring up another window if I wanted to bring up this window here. And you'll notice that I'm moving it around on my screen, but you don't see it on the viewing screen. Why? Because I'm not sharing my display. I'm only sharing that window, this one. So no matter where I go here, if I go to YouTube, it's going to go ahead and change. And notice I'll be like, oh, I need to look this up while people are watching my screen and just looking at Google. And I can do whatever I want here. And you wouldn't see this because this right here is what you would be looking at. Does that make sense? I think it does. But that's the idea. So again, those are sources inside of OBS. I am not going to go through setting up everything with OBS right now because that would be a whole nother stream that I would have to run or a whole nother just, walk through. And it would take me about an hour probably to get through everything. And I'm not going to do that. But for today, I just wanted to show you this. Now, if you do want to do OBS and you want to set it up, listen, I'm not leaving you hanging dry. I just want to show you the tools, but I can tell you that if you go to YouTube and you even at Google and you do a search for setting up OBS for Twitch, you will get tons of people walking you through it. So there's no need for me to make a how-to because people have already done it. Now, you'll tell me later if you go and you look for that and you can't find it, or, which is, I don't know how, But if you listen to it and then you're like, I still don't understand it because I didn't understand them, then I'll be like, okay, I will make one and hold your hand and walk through it, and we'll do it together. But I don't really think there's a need for that because there are tons of great YouTube videos out there for setting up OBS. I am just going to show you some of the important things, like what the software is called, so you know what to look for. I'm also going to explain certain things that they may not talk about. Like, for example, here's my next thing. When you are setting up your stream and you're deciding you want to stream, you need to know what your upload speed is. In other words, what is your upload in bandwidth? Because sometimes people say, oh yeah, I've got fast internet, but they have like 10 megabytes of upload. And that may be okay, depending on what you're doing. And so the way you have to do that is, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, by the way. I'll come back to this in a second. Is if you look at this math here, I'm going to probably make this bigger for a moment for you. If you look at this math, and you can do Twitch bandwidth settings, this will kind of explain it to you. Unlike YouTube, YouTube can take a larger amount of bit rates. This right here, this first 6,000 is the bit rate. So this right here is the bit rates. That's the bit rates you'll be setting. And I'll show you where you set that up. So they recommend anywhere between 6,000 is kind of the average number that they say to set up. And that means if you're streaming at 1080p at 60 frames per second, if you don't know what that means and you're going to get into streaming, you really should know what that means. Please look it up and understand this a little bit more. If you have no idea what 1080p and 720p means or 60 FPS means, then really, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, you should not be streaming. That's just it until you learn what that means. But anyhow, back to this. So this right here is the calculation that it will give you in order for you to figure out whether you have enough internet to actually do this. It says here, test your upload speed. Use an online speed test to see your upload speed. By the way, a speed test would be speedtest.net would be a place where you can go and do that. It's free, it's online, and it'll test your connection. So then you calculate your target bit rate, take your upload speed, and multiply it by 0.75. For example, if your upload speed is 10 megabytes per second, your bit rate should be around 7.5 or 7,500 for the bit rate. So that's what you would set it to. See, there's the math. Set the bit rate in your streaming software, which I'll show you in a second. Use constant bit rate CBR, and then enable auto reconnect. So you're like, yeah, I don't know what all that means. Okay, so I'll show you. So if I go back to the screen on the right here, so let's go back to dual screen scene here. And I'm going to bring this other computer up for a second. And I'm going to go to settings. If I go to settings, you'll need to set all of this up in OBS. I wish I could. You know what? Let me slide this over. Let's bring Harley over here. And let's make this go to full desk here. That way you can see this. So this setup here, if you look at this, if I'm in the right place, yes. You'll see that it has like general, appearance, stream, and all that. You'll have to go through this and set this up. And again, you will find a YouTube video that has this. But I want to show you this exact thing right here. The output. This is the area we're talking about bit rates. You notice for Twitch, it's 6,000. I don't stream on this machine, but when I used to, I only streamed on Twitch, and I used to use 6,000 because I used to have Xfinity, which was the best I could get at the time. But anyways, these are the settings they're talking about. Through bit rate here, it talks about doing the rate control of CB, which is constant bit rate, and there's a couple of other things to set up. But that right there is important. It's probably hard to see on my screen, but there it is. So that's what the bit rate means. And again, if you don't have fast internet, I doubt you're on dial-up, but if you have just regular internet that's not really fast, it's just like, it's laggy, whatever, you have no business streaming, you're not going to be able to have a good stream. People are going to get choppy image. They're probably not even going to be able to see it. It's going to look really bad. And why do that to anyone? If you have high-speed internet, you're getting like a gigabyte or something, then you're fine. If you have less than that, you might be okay. But look at your upload speed. Your upload speed should at least be 10, at least, for Twitch. So anyhow, that's that. Not going to show you anything else here. So that's the That's for that. I'm going to go ahead and close that monitor because we don't need that anymore. And I'm going to close out this one. Okay. So that is OBS. Now, if I were, and by the way, it's obsproject.com. If you did an OBS software search, you'll be able to find it, but it's obsproject.com for the download. And you walk through, he'll give you some explanations here too. Now, let me talk about Stream Elements really quickly because I told you this is something you would use with it. If you wanted to save on bandwidth, in other words, the things that need to come out of your computer to be able to be shown on the internet takes up bandwidth. Every time something gets uploaded into the internet, you are sending graphics out, you're sending bit rates out. You want to make sure that that you're able to send that out. And why have to send out your overlay every single time? Well, you don't have to. If I go in here, Stream Elements, this is going to be mine. You can go into Stream Elements and do something called, I haven't used this one in a while, use your overlays. You can set up your overlays so that you can do, like, remember how I was just showing you my overlay screen a second ago, this one here? This is an overlay. If you notice it's animated, well, I'm not running this from my local computer. This is on the internet already through Stream Elements so that I don't have to send this animation every time I go to the screen. So I go here. Let's go back over to desktop overlay. Nope, wrong one. Full desktop. So if I go here and I go to, let me see if I can find the right one. Be right back. Background, latest, close up. I think it's close up. So I'm going to edit that one. And once I'm in here, you'll notice that here it is. Can I make this smaller? Yeah, I can. Because mine's 1440 instead of 1080. So here's the overlay. That's everything that you were seeing. It's moving. It's uploaded here on Stream Elements, which is online. It's on a web browser. All I'm getting is when I look at the overlay, I want to copy the URL. If I want to preview it, that's the URL right there. And it's so easy to take that URL, set it up in OBS as a browser source, and then you will have it coming in without it ever having to be as a local file. This is what's the beauty of this. Now, this is also where you set up all your little chat tools, like maybe the alerts, where you get your chat coming in, things like that. That's all important here. And you can set everything about your overlay up here. And once that's done, you save it, you grab the URL, you put it as a browser source. Again, plenty of YouTubes showing you how to do this. And that's as easy as that. But the reason why you have it on Stream Elements is because it's so much easier to manage here instead of remembering where you put it on what local file. And because it's a local file, it eats up resources and bandwidth. Resources is hugely important when you're streaming because of the fact that you're using your graphic card, not only for gaming, but also for processing whatever you're streaming out. So that's important. So anyhow, that's that. What else can I tell you? I think that's basically the main thing. Listen, if you have questions about this and you're wondering little things that maybe I can answer quickly, just drop a comment in the comment section. So let me know your question. I'll try to get to it. If I can't answer it, I'll be honest and be like, either point you in a different direction or tell you, yeah, I don't know about that. But there is somebody named Harris Heller, Harris, H-A-R-R-I-S, Heller, H-E-L-L-E-R, that has a lot of YouTube videos, and he has walked through OBS so many times and everything to do with streaming so many times. So he's a perfect guy to watch for this. I just wanted to kind of give you a kind of a heads up to know what you're getting into if you're going to do this. If you really feel like streaming is for you and you really want to get going on it, it is going to be a little bit of investment. I'm going to say that you can probably start streaming with as little as $300, and a good kind of still staying on a budget will still be under $1,000. You probably can get away with $500 to $700, and that's not including the PC that you're using. But some of the major things that you need to have is good internet. That's the first thing. Good internet, good lighting, good audio. And by the way, do not be afraid of recording or running a stream, saving it, and listening to it to see, even if it's for testing reasons, just so you can listen and see if your volume is okay. Because if people can't hear you and they have to crank you all the way up to listen to you, I mean, that's pretty, I've left one too many streams because I was like, I like them, I like their content, but I can't hear them at all. They're talking like if they're talking like this. And this is not good. You can hardly hear me here. But that's important. I mean, then if you're going to have a microphone, learn how to use it. So those are the things. Here's the other thing. Let me set realistic expectations on this as well. If you're thinking of getting onto streaming and getting on Twitch because you think you're going to make it big and it's like, yes, I'm going to get tons of donations, I'm going to be partnered, and I'm going to get tons of ad money, and I'm going to have lots of people on my stream. I'm going to have thousands of people on my streams. I hope you do, but it's not that easy. And there are a couple of key factors to making that happen. I don't want to say that girls have it easier because there's more guys and girls watching streams. That's not true. I think there's a good mixture. There are certain things that girls can do that to a gamer community, which is big majority of it are young guys. If a woman does certain things or wears certain things, she's able to get a larger audience. That's not always the case. But you'll understand this. Why are people watching you? And I think that's what you have to ask yourself. Why am I streaming? Am I streaming because, XYZ? I do it for fun. I do it as an outlet for myself. I'm not looking to get rich and famous off of it or anything like that. I form a small community of like-minded individuals that I can share thoughts with and I can have a good dialogue with. And yes, I play games. Am I great at my games? Absolutely not. I have a good time, though. And that's what I do it. But what is your reason why you're doing it? If you're looking at to make a fast buck and think that you're going to make it huge and be the next freaking, who am I going to think about now? Shroud, crazy FPS shooter, Ninja back in the day being a Fortnite player and everybody loved him, or anybody else. There's so many others. I don't even want to name all of them. But if that's your goal, I don't want to tell you that you're not going to make it, but I want to tell you, let's be more realistic with your goals and start off at a certain level. Discoverability is everything. If people can't find you, people don't discover you, you're never going to be seen. So you might have to do your own part to kind of do your own marketing, social media, TikTok, YouTube shorts, things like that, lead people back to your stream if that's what you want. And you'll work at it just like anything else. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying let's be realistic that it's not going to be an overnight success. Have I seen it happen to some people? Yes. But they have that magic factor, and there's something about them that made them go completely viral. The other thing, obviously, and I'm just going to put this out there, is that there is a certain vibe that some younger people have, that, or some specific personalities have, that people tend to look and gravitate towards. Sometimes it's pranking, sometimes it's toxicity, sometimes it's just good vibes. Maybe you're trendy, maybe you're like in with the cool kids, I don't know. But those kind of things do help you as well. So that's what it is. Not me. I'm an old guy. I just enjoy hanging out and helping people sometimes. So I hope that got you started. And I hope I gave you a little bit of an overview of what streaming is like or what it will take. I'll be happy to share my experience at some point. Maybe I'll do a video and share it. I've been doing it since 2018. I've come from streaming in a short little area that used to be right there with one little tiny monitor to now, which I have a room filled with 3 setups, and I'm constantly changing things up. So I've done my share of changing up and learning and testing and whatnot. So pretty much feel like I can help. Anyways, hope you're having a great day. Whatever you decide, good luck to you. And I'll see you in the next one. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.